Hello everyone, this is Jay from BroGaming TCG, and today I am here with another Road to Worlds episode 10, I believe. So today I wanted to talk about Quad Lapras versus Sylveon, but unfortunately the video that I got with Sylveon was super laggy. I've been having a lot of trouble with internet. It's not my recorder, it's the internet. For Pokemon TCG, as I talked in my last Is It Good, we've just been having terrible connection issues at my parents' house where I'm currently living. I usually live off in college where I have really good internet at my apartment. So anyways, I've just been struggling with that. So you may not see Road to Worlds as frequently, but I'm going to try to do it every other day, just like I am doing Is It Good. I'm kind of rotating between the two, but for the most part of the video, this is a pretty good gameplay. But I do want to talk about Quad Lapras as, is it still playable? So Quad Lapras is one of my favorite decks when it kind of started to come out and be something really good, because I've always liked Lapras as a Pokemon, and when the GX came out, I really liked the GX card. But Aqua Box was never really my cup of tea. I liked things that didn't really shut down opponents. I like to really think about the moves and strategize rather than just completely shut down the opponent. So when Quad Lapras came around, I really enjoyed playing it, and I've really enjoyed playing it on the Road to Worlds. But as soon as I get a Sylveon deck and some Trevenant Garbodor decks up, I'm going to start playing those. But is Quad Lapras actually dead? Are we going to see it in any more tournaments and stuff like that? And honestly, I'm going to say no. Quad Lapras is something that is probably going to start dying off. Now, there might be people who play it with Aqua Patch, but even with Aqua Patch, it's not that great because you don't really put cards into the discard pile very often, and you don't really want to have your Labrases get knocked out, because if they do get knocked out, you have to basically be building up an entire another one, and to build up 3 water energy turn by turn by turn is very hard. Even with max elixirs and water patch, it's still quite hard to get 3 water energies on a Lapras in one turn to be able to build something up like that. So I think we will very likely see Quad Lapras dying off, and Sylveon GX become a lot more prevalent. As everybody already knows, Sylveon GX is a great deck. And basically, it kind of has the fundamentals of Quad Lapras. So basically, you get Sylveon out, use its magical ribbon to get 3 cards. Now, the thing about Sylveon is you can pick any 3 cards from your deck, and you don't just draw 3. Quad Lapras is collect for 1 water energy. You have to draw 3 cards off the top of your deck, and Magical Ribbon is just obviously the better attack. Now, I'm going to say Fairy Wind, Sylveon's second attack, isn't as good as Labras's Blizzard Burn, but it also, you can use it back to back, so you can do 220 in 2 turns, while with Lapras, unless you have another Lapras to switch into, which a lot of times you don't, you're only doing 160. But if you do have a Lapras to switch into and use a second Blizzard Burn, then you are doing 320, if I'm doing math correctly there. So Lapras does have a bigger second attack output, but at the same time, you can argue Ice Beam GX and I believe it's Plea GX basically are on the same level. So you have the you get to put 2 bench Pokemon back into your opponent's hand with all cards attached to them, so you can really slow down your opponent with Sylveon GX if they are setting up, or you can just, if they don't have more than 2 bench Pokemon, you send those 2 bench Pokemon back to their hand, and they only have their active. You knock out their active that turn, and well, I guess you wouldn't knock out their active that turn. They could just play it again. So really, that wouldn't work. But so I think Ice Beam GX is a little better GX attack, because you completely paralyze your opponent for 1 turn, allowing you to get 260 off, basically knocking out anything in the standard format right now that doesn't have a Fighting Fury belt on it. So that is really good. Now, what the only problem is that Lapras GX is a slow deck. Quad Lapras is going to be a slow deck. It's never going to be a fast deck. And yes, there are people who are much better than I who can play it a lot quicker than I do, and usually use max elixirs, or they use water patch. In this deck, I don't use water patch at all. but it's still not going to be as fast as Sylveon with its setup. Sylveon is always going to set it up, so Quad Lapras versus Sylveon. Sylveon is pretty much always going to win that match unless you're playing up against an unexperienced Sylveon GX player or they just don't get anything. So now, taking a look at Quad Labras's other matchups in the standard format right now, you have Volcanion, which obviously Volcanion has a weakness to Quad Lapras, but I still think, as I talked about in my last Road to Worlds, Volcanion could honestly be the best deck out there right now. And even though Quad Lapras is a counter to it and has the weakness, double damage, still I think Volcanion can easily beat Quad Lapras because of Quad Labras's inability to be super fast, and with Turtonator GX now, Volcanion kind of has that oomph to kind of stall a little bit that it didn't have with just the basic Volcanion. So I don't think Volcanion's, if an experienced Volcanion player comes along, has no problem beating a Quad Lapras deck, even though they're at a disadvantage from the beginning. Now, another standard format is Turbo Darkrai. I think Turbo Darkrai and Quad Lapras, that's going to be a decent matchup because you're doing a high amount of damage, but you're not one-hit KOing the Darkrai's. So unfortunately, I'm going to have to say that Turbo Darkrai could also be Quad Lapras. You're looking at Water Box. Water Box is still prevalent in the standard format, but Water Box is going to be Lapras GX now because of its different utilities. You have Wishy Washy GX for bulk. You have obviously Lapras GX. You have Glaceon EX. You have Water Patch now to speed up all their energies, getting their energies into their discard piles a little bit easy for Water Box. So I think that is going to be a little different. So Water Box and Quad Lapras are kind of on the same level here. I think Water Box is a little bit more prevalent in the meta game right now because a lot more people prefer to play Water Box. So looking at some other probably not huge decks, we're looking at the Garbodor. Garbodor is going to definitely beat Lapras, the new Garbodor from Guardians Rising, especially as long as if you can stall long enough and to get into the late game, because Garbodor is a late game deck. Trevenant is obviously hitting for weakness on the Lapras if you don't evolve it into its break form. So that's kind of going to be hard, especially when you have 3 trainer cards, you're doing 180 damage now. So that's pretty much. So at this point in time in the video, it does get a little bit laggy, but hopefully you guys can bear with me. I do apologize for the lagginess at this part of the video. I do not like the internet here. But anyways, here are my closing remarks about Quad Lapras. I don't think it's a dead deck. I don't think that the people it's just going to fall off the face of the planet. I think you will see it at tournaments, but I don't think you're going to see it in the top 16, even maybe the top 20. Well, that's not a very big difference, but maybe even top 50, but you are going to see Quad Lapras decks at tournaments. People are still going to play it just because they enjoy the movement of the deck and the play style of the deck, and it's a fun deck to play. So I don't think it's totally going to die off, but I do think you are going to see a decline of experienced and more pretty much more experienced players, and players who are very competitive start to swing towards Sylveon GX and Volcanion. So that is pretty much my closing remarks on Quad Lapras. So if you guys have any opinions on the Quad Lapras deck, please leave it in the comment section below. Also, if you haven't already clicked that like button, go ahead and hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't. And guys, we are almost to 100 subscribers, and if we are at 100 subscribers, I want to thank every single one of you guys. We do, Gator and I both appreciate you a lot. So this has been Jay from BroGaming TCG. Don't forget, guys, to always keep on battling and pursue your dreams.